What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of New Pod here on Knotfest.com. As always, I am Josh with Toomey. Ro Kohli is at San Diego Comic-Con this week, so I had to bring in a heavy hitter, some of the big guns, Matt Naas of the Roach Koach Podcast. Matt, how are we doing?
Keep it rolling, baby. We're doing good, Josh. How are you?
I brought you in for all the catchphrases and the.
I got so many. I'm ready.
You're Mr. Catchphrase over there.
Cannon talk. Let's get going.
Let's get going, man. We got a few things going on this week. I did put out a post a few days ago, and you and I are going to kind of break these down. But where is the most random place you've met a rock star, and who was it? So we'll dive into that momentarily. But first, we got to talk about, we are down to the final two bands of the Knotfest Nu Metal Best Album of All Time Bracket Challenge over on Knotfest.com. And it has come down to, do you know these two bands, Matt?
We're going to find out together.
Oh, well, I know these two bands, but I'm seeing if you know who the final two are. System of a Down,
Evanescence. That was what I saw.
Okay, yeah. So that is the final two bands. So you have System of a Down, Toxicity versus Evanescence, I believe, Fallen. A little bit of controversy, though. They're saying that the Evanescence fans are voting multiple times, and they're kind of messing the bracket up. Because I think if you go back on the bracket, Evanescence has wiped out this bracket. I mean, First round, they beat out Mudvayne, LD50.
Oh, okay.
Right. I'm not 100% on round two. I think it was Papa Roach, if I'm not mistaken. And then they, in the final four of the bracket, they beat out Korn self-titled for the best nu metal album of all time.
Okay. I'm not okay. Here's the deal. So I'm from the Roach Koach Podcast. We've been doing it for about 7 years.
Yes.
And there's only a couple of bands whose fans respond in a visceral way.
Okay.
When we either don't praise them enough or bag on them a little bit. 311 is number one.
Right.
Still to this day. And Evanescence. Evanescence fans are ride or fucking die for Evanescence.
All right, I was wrong. Okay, I've got the bracket here in front of me. So Evanescence first round beat out Mudvayne LD50.
Okay.
Round two, they beat out Chocolate Starfish by Limp Bizkit. The final four, they beat out Self-Titled by Korn, and they have a heavy, heavy advantage over System of a Down, Toxicity right now. Insane.
That's wild to me.
Right.
But also, yeah, it's just, I think we got to get the word out.
I keep trying. I was like, I posted in a bunch of Korn groups. I was like, you got to vote for the boys. You know, we got to get because, you know, in all honesty, and this new pod challenge has, or the nu metal album bracket has new pod on it. So, I mean, like my name is on this basically. And I'm like sitting here saying, I was like, when Ro and I did our own version of this, we did it ourselves, took the bracket ourselves. And obviously in both of our first rounds, Mudvayne wins. So, I mean, Evanescence doesn't get this far at all in our brackets. To get where we are with System of a Down had to beat Dope Life.
Okay.
Round two, they beat Slipknot. And then System of a Down took down Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, which I was surprised by.
I'm surprised by that because of, I don't know, like, well, the fan bases at this point, I could see the System fans being, because they just did the festival. They've played recently. So, and they're doing the big 25 years for the first record. So like they are definitely in the ethos a lot more. They're showing up on my feed a lot lately. Right. Trying to get me to buy that record, and then it went out of print immediately, and I'm like, not fun for me, but that's okay.
Yeah, as we record, there are 24,000 votes ish. 10,149 for System of a Down, 13,676 for Evanescence. So 57 to 46%.
Wow. It's wow. Evanescence fans show up.
Showing up and showing out.
Yes. Again, I will speak no ill of Evanescence because, again, their fans are very ride or die.
Well, and as this shows, it's like honestly, if I put together a best nu metal album bracket of all time of my own personal favorites, Evanescence is probably not making the making the top 16 here. I believe it is. So
and that would track with me as well. So
I like how you're like, I know how these Evanescence fans are. I'm not saying shit.
This is like this is Taylor Swift level. This is BTS level. Like, I just don't want the smoke.
You don't want the Swifties and the Evanescences to come after you.
I don't need the smoke. Don't need the smoke. I have enough things that I say that are silly that deserve the smoke. You want to vote at number 1? That's why it's there. Do it.
To each their own. If you want to head over to knotfest.com, hit the bracket challenge and vote for System of a Down or Evanescence. I mean, it's totally up to you, 100% up to you. You can do whatever you want. You can vote for System of a Down. You can vote for Evanescence.
Toxicity is an all-timer. It's an amazing record.
Yes, it is.
Certainly worth the vote. And I couldn't tell you the name of that Evanescence record.
That Evanescence album is called Fallen.
Oh, yes. Now I recall. Blue cover.
I mean, just even the Elite Eight. I don't know if you're into basketball brackets and things like that. So yeah, the Elite Eight of this bracket challenge was Linkin Park Hybrid Theory versus Deftones Around the Fur.
Wow.
System of a Down Toxicity versus Slipknot. Korn versus Disturbed the Sickness, and Evanescence versus Limp Bizkit, Chocolate Starfish. So I mean,
heavy hitters.
I mean, it was the heavy hitters coming down to it, man. So yeah, it's a great bracket, but the Evanescence fans are taking over.
That's what they do.
They are.
What they do.
I think they might even be in my house at this point. They heard me talking bad about them on a podcast.
Josh, I'm just telling you, get out of there.
This is our first 7-minute episode. I've got to go. On to the let's do the random rock stars and random places, and obviously in the future, if we do this again, it'll be way more nu metal adjacent. But I mean, this is going to be kind of a blanket. Any rock star. I mean, actually, there's a Taylor Swift on here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're going to be all over the gambit. And I'd ask you if you ran into anybody here and there. And I've got a few. The one that comes to mind right away is I was a manager of a Hot Topic for a couple of years. Imagine that. And Alice Cooper came in, and I had heard he was in town like for a couple of days. And he had been, I guess he loves the mall. Like, if you work at Hot Topic, at some point you've met Alice Cooper. Like, it's just a thing. Like, he's coming to your Hot Topic kind of deal. And this was in the mid to early 2000s.
Alice Cooper loves a Funko Pop.
Well, this was way before the Funko Pop. But this would have been like Alice Cooper loves some trip pants. Like,
oh, Alice Cooper digs on a Ren and Stimpy tee. He wants a Cartman tee super bad.
There we go, right there. I had heard like the rumblings of the mall, like you're in the food court and you're trying to get a Cinnabon, and like the other workers like, did you know that Alice Cooper's in here? I'm like, what? That's crazy. So he came in the next day, and my parents. I told him this story. I walk up to Alice Cooper and I'm like, I don't want to bother you, but I was like, if it wasn't for you, I might not have been born. And he was just like, what are you talking about? And so in the late 70s, my parents told my mom's parents, my grandparents, obviously, that they were going to go see Alice Cooper in concert. But instead of going to see Alice Cooper in concert, they ran off and eloped. And so they never got to see Alice Cooper. And I told him the story, and he's like, "Oh my god, I love the story." He's like, "I'm going to tell it on my radio show." I would love to hear if he ever told that actually on the radio show.
That would be awesome.
But he put me on the guest list, and in a weird twist of fate, I took my mom to the show, So it's kind of like some weird, full circle of life kind of thing. They told my grandparents that they were going to go see Alice Cooper.
He's saying, "You be my Frankenstein."
But then the son took the mom to see Alice Cooper. But man, what a fantastic show! It was at a casino here in town, but yeah, it was a fantastic show.
I had a run-in, so if there was a minute, probably more like 3 years, where Limp Bizkit's own Wes Borland, lived in Detroit. I never was like creepy and went to his house, but I know where Boston Edison is, and he did the repair show.
Right.
So like we knew what house it was, but it's like, what am I going to do? Knock at his door and be like, "Hi." So never like that, but I was at a grocery store, and this was right around the time that we were trying to book him as a guest. Was going to happen, wasn't going to happen. And I looked down in the grocery aisle, and I see a pair of black and white slip-on Vans. And I know like instantly, because I've been on Instagram, and I'm just like, that's Wes Borland. and sure enough, I stand up, I turn to my left, and looking at toothbrushes is Wes Borland, and I just leave him alone. I really do. I just leave him alone, because what am I going to do? Like, hey, Matt, you're going to come over to my house and talk about nu metal in my basement. So I
mean, it might have sealed the deal. It might have, because that was around the time where I interviewed him for 2 hours. And the only reason we stopped talking is because I had to go pick up my son from daycare, because the daycare was about to close, or we might still be on the phone. Like, he was ready to talk. Like, I don't think he had friends in Detroit. You could have been his best friend.
Really could have had a moment.
Yeah.
But I was like, it was the 4th of July as well. So it was kind of like, he's probably doing a picnic of some sort. So
right then he was probably thinking like, man, I wish I could go somewhere on the 4th of July,
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to my ginormous home.
With my toothbrush.
And
like Steve Martin in The Jerk. He's like, all I need is this toothbrush.
And this lawn chair. Yeah, and that was one of them. I've been lucky enough to do a few meet and greets, and I have met a few. I dug deep in the recesses. I got another one if we need another one. So
all right, we'll come back to them, because I got one more. Because I grew up in Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is right outside of Nashville, which is a lot of country music stars. And so I've got a fun story for Career Day. So I'll bring that one up in a little bit. Just kind of running through these. So like I said, I posted on the old Facebook here, where's the most random place you've met a rock star and who was it? And we had 146 replies. I figured we would get 10 or 20, but this one definitely came through. Ryan Vanderwolk said, I bumped into Jonathan Davis at a Zara clothing store in France in 2016. And I believe Ryan is from like the New England area. So why he was in France and Jonathan Davis was in France, we'll never know. But
never know. And why is he in a very interesting turn of events here? So he's from New England. He goes to France.
Yes.
Ends up in like a fast fashion boutique. And lo and behold, here's Jonathan Davis.
I mean, what do you do there? Are they looking at like kilts together? Are they looking at Adidas tracksuits together?
Well, like everything that I've seen in that store has been much more for like, I need to lose 40 pounds to lose another 20 pounds to fit into their clothes. Like, it's like H&M. It's very much like for the lithe man.
Nice.
And I would never describe me as lithe. I would say bulky, stocky. Those are good words. But hey, good on you.
So in this journey of nu metal that you've kind of been on over the last 7 years, you know, obviously the purple sequined, you know, Adidas tracksuit.
Absolutely.
It's kind of popped up over the years, but to see it pop up at Sick New World, I was just like, there we go. That's the Jonathan Davis we need. Like they understood the assignment. You know, when you have Sick New World and you're throwing all these new metal bands together, and Korn is getting up there with, you know, even had some sort of Adidas tracksuit on. Jonathan kicked back with the old school. Like, they understood the assignment.
I love that they did that, because it is that moment where you go, I mean, it's right. You get it. Korn is such an amazing live band, and watching them do what they do. And now I've seen Korn probably 4 times.
Right.
So it's like they deliver every single time, but then doing Sick New World, doing a nod, it was like,
yeah.
Loved it. Can't say enough good things about it. Give me all of that, please. Give me all of that you have to sell.
All right. Michael Brandvold says, Axl Rose in a bathroom. I took a piss next to him. Okay. You meet
Axl Rose in a bathroom. Do you say hello to him?
Ooh, I think you at least got to give him maybe obviously, you know, male protocol.
Get your business done.
Two guys at a urinal. Straight ahead. You know, you can kind of eyes up, maybe look over, see what's going on. But if your eyes up, look over, see that it's Axl Rose, I think you at least got to give a head nod, you know?
Yeah. You gotta,
or time up the washing of the hands at the same time, you know, or do you guys get the blow dryer together? Things like that.
Right. Exactly. You give them the head nod. What you don't do, both hands over, have a conversation, and then be like, I guess every rose does have its thorn, huh? Huh?
Look at your little November Rain there. Look what we got going on.
Silver, been looking for Mr. Brownstone. How many Appetite for Destruction references can we make?
That is a Rocket Queen if I have said. That's a Rocket King if I've seen one.
Oh, I see you sitting there, Axl. You think you're so cool.
You want to get in the ring, Axl?
Oh shit, get in the ring.
Well, this is a spaghetti incident now, isn't it? All right. Silver Dungeon. It looks like it'd be cooler if it was Silver Dungeon. Rob Zombie in line behind my sister and me at the grocery store back in 2002.
What's in his basket?
What do you got going on there, Rob Zombie?
Rob Zombie goes. That's the thing. Is it's going to be just staples, stuff that he needs. I don't know, mustard, ketchup.
It's 4th of July picnic with Wes Borland, you know.
Right. He's Wes said that he's going to pick up a toothbrush. So I'm getting the Toms here. And then I need some condiments. So I have a jar of pickles and ketchup and mustard. It's going to be fine. Yeah.
So, you know, his wife had to have been with him, right? It's not, he doesn't go anywhere without his wife.
Or maybe this was the chance for him to get away. He has a bachelor weekend. She's going somewhere.
Right.
And he's got the house all to myself. I'm going to go crazy. Baskets loaded with Pop-Tarts. Just
pizza rolls.
So many Totinos just pouring out of that thing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. More Guns N' Roses. Kevin Billing says, Duff McKagan standing in line at the airport. I was wearing a GNR shirt, but great dude.
Nice.
How do you feel if you run into a rock star and you're wearing the shirt of the guy? Are you like...
Yeah, I think you have to, because I would also say if I'm Duff,
yeah,
and I run into a person wearing a GNR t-shirt, and he doesn't go, hey, it's you. Then it's right. Then I would feel really poorly. I would be he likes us enough that he has our band's t-shirt, but he doesn't even know who I am. I
think of the main three, you know, you got Axl / Duff.
Yeah.
Obviously, Duff is third.
Yep.
GNR is one of those bands where you're probably going to know the top two at least, and maybe Duff.
Mm-hmm.
And
or is he Stradlin?
Yeah, but I'm saying like the guy that goes to Walmart to buy the GNR shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many people truly know the bass player? You know, and we are bass players. You and I are brethren in that way, so we understand the plight of a bass player.
I think Duff would take it as no big deal. He'd just be like, awesome. And
I will say, and this is totally unrelated to this list, but listening to Guns N' Roses now and listening to really what Duff is doing under all that stuff, my bass playing style is more Duff McKagan than what I thought would have been like more Metallica. I thought I was like more Jason Newsted, but the more I listened to Duff stuff, I was like, you know what? Actually, I probably would have done that too.
Nice.
So there we go.
That's a nice one.
I enjoy some Duff McKagan.
Me too.
From Ashes to New came into the Wendy's I used to work at while on their way to join up with the 2017 Warped Tour. That comes from Matthew Powers. Good guy, that Matthew Powers.
Nice. I love that. Love that.
I mean, you got to be kicking them nuggets, right? You got to be sliding them 4-piece nugs like all day.
Oh, they come in. You realize it's Ashes to New. You go, you see that $1 menu?
Yeah.
For you? It's a $0 menu. What do you need? You need a junior bacon cheese? We got you. We got you. You need some nugs? You need a 4-piece nug? Just let me know. They have that crispy nugget. Like that Wendy's crispy nugget. It is good.
That's a good nugget.
It's a good one. I like that.
On a related note, the first Primer 55 tour I did would have been 2002. And me and Bobby Burns walk into a Wendy's. And this is, Bobby's tattooed up, mohawk, looking cool, right?
Yep.
Girl behind the counter is like starting to freak out a little bit. And she turns around and Bobby's giving me like one of those like, yeah, she knows who I am kind of thing.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, oh wow, this is a whole new world for me, rock stars, whatever. And this goes on for, the whole time we're about to get our food. And finally, when we get our food, she goes, "Are you the singer of Crazy Town?" She thought he was Shifty Shell Shock, which the time, huge compliment because Shifty was tattooed up, muscles, everything else. But the whole time she thought he was Shifty Shell Shock from Crazy Town.
And he's over there. He's doing swingers. He's like, "Oh, she thinks I'm a naughty baby."
A few of these on here. Oh, here's a nu metal one. We'll go with this one. Eric Hall. I met Chino at our local mall and a tobacco shop in 2001 while Deftones were on tour with Godsmack. It was probably one of the most surreal moments I've ever had, and I think we took him by surprise that we even recognized him, let alone went up and talked to him. So 2001, I mean, he's there. Back to school videos out, right? And they're popping off.
They're definitely having a moment. Like,
yeah. I mean, they're on tour with Godsmack for Christ's sake.
For goodness sakes. I mean, what are we talking about here? These guys, they know what's up.
And if I think, if I'm right, I think Eric Hall is up around you in Michigan somewhere.
Nice.
So you probably could have met Chino at your local mall.
So 2001, they're touring White Pony. Yeah. They are absolutely having a moment.
Yeah, I think, but maybe they're one of those bands that they're like niche popular, like.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't know is the answer. I mean, some people are just. I don't know. Chino does seem to be, well, number one, at that point in time, how there was Chino.
Right.
So there is that can come into play. And also just if your personality is like, I get left alone in public And people start being like, hey, you could be like, oh, hey guys, yeah, it's me.
I think the clientele of a tobacco shop in 2001 probably Deftones fans.
Oh, I would support that.
Let's see here. Jameson White says Vinnie Paul in a Walmart neighborhood market in Arlington. I was working there at the time. Andy Connors goes on to say, I saw him at the Garden Grove Target the year he passed away. Very friendly. And Jameson comes back and says, I didn't want to bother him, so we just had the head nod type interaction. But I have a big Cowboys from Hell tattoo on my forearm, which was the only tattoo I had at the time, so I assumed he knew. So that's like one step up of wearing the GNR shirt in front of Duff. If you've got the Cowboys from Hell tattoo and you see Vinnie Paul, I mean, you have to do the head nod.
I think so. I think you absolutely have to do. But
also Arlington, Texas, I think, they once you come out of the womb, they just tattoo that on you real quick.
They're like, and here's your copy of Far Beyond Driven.
and here's a black tooth grin.
And there you go. We'll see you in the pit.
Here's a random one. No, not new pod at all. Peter Frampton while working at the Scottsdale CompUSA. This one also goes on from CompUSA. And this is I actually had to.
They're just like us, man. The stars, they're just like us.
Also, multiple legendary sports figures and Warrior, in parentheses, formerly known as the Ultimate Warrior. The cashier had a really hard time that his Amex just said Warrior. So you do know that story that he legally changed his name to just Warrior.
Did not know that he did that.
Yes, he did that. So that's hilarious that his American Express just said Warrior.
Warrior. That's brilliant.
I every level of that, like the person that works at American Express that had to make the card and sign him up, and how many people were like, no, you have to have a last name. Like, no, his name is just Warrior, and his kids are Jessica Warrior. Like the Warrior is like the last name of the family. It's a banana sandwich.
And it's like ultimate is just understood. It's like It's like when they teach English and they're like go is a full sentence.
Right.
Because the U is understood and Warrior ultimate understood. His documentary, his WWE documentary.
Yeah, it's a bit tough.
It's a tough one. But it's also an all-timer because when they start talking about his promos and how absolutely nonsensical his promos are, unbelievable content. Just so nothing beats Macho Man's cream will rise.
Right.
But him threatening to crash a plane for WrestleMania.
There are so many. Yeah. Like the as a kid, the Ultimate Warrior was my favorite wrestler.
Oh,
and I've jokingly said on this podcast, because I'm a Nashville Predators fan, I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. I'm a fan of few teams that have never won a championship.
Yeah.
Truly, the only time in my lifetime that someone or something that I rooted for won the whole thing was WrestleMania 6 when Ultimate Warrior beat Hogan for the for the both belts.
Right.
Kind of thing. And it's funny, to this day, I've always hated Ravishing Rick Rude. And it's funny, when he died, part of me just said good.
And he was a heel to the end.
And that is, I think, a compliment to Ravishing Rick Rude.
Yep. It really, really is.
Yeah.
Oh, when he would call the audience a bunch of fat pigs. He just was like, delicious.
Yeah.
Give me all of it.
But yeah, I wish I kind of never watched the Ultimate Warrior, behind the music, whatever those things were called, because he did turn into a pretty rough person. But I will say his his Hall of Fame speech, and then that Monday Night Raw speech that he does, and then he dies.
Yes.
Like, you know, you never know when you're gonna breathe your last breath. That whole speech, and then he dies. It's crazy to watch.
It's a little chilling. It's a little whoa, what? Okay. Wow.
Paul Ridley says, I sat next to Phil Anselmo on a plane heading from Detroit to Louisiana when I was 16. I was a huge Pantera fan at the time and still am, and he was the nicest guy you could possibly ask for.
That's awesome.
All right, so at 16, I mean, at 16, Anselmo is probably one of my favorites too, or Jonathan Davis type thing. So if you were 16 on a plane from Detroit to Louisiana, who would you want to be sitting next to at 16-year-old Matt Naas?
16. Let's see. That would be who's I'm trying to figure out the year. That's where I'm doing the mental math.
I can honestly say there was one night Korn opened for Ozzy on the Retirement Sucks tour, by the way, which is awesome. Korn opens for Ozzy early 96, I think, in Nashville. And I get to meet Korn, and they go to this dance club after the show. And I get in, and I know that I was just punishing Jonathan Davis. I was 16 years old in a nightclub, just like, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does it mean? You know, like probably just peppering him with questions. He could have been nicer. But at one point, you know, they finally like came around and ID'd me because I mean, I had long hair and everything at the time, but I also had a baby face, so there was no way that I should have been in there. But I kind of have this moment of 16-year-old me getting to just pepper Jonathan Davis with questions.
It would have been Cobain.
Okay,
it would have been Kurt Cobain because I was just that would have been 1993 when I'm 16, so I would have been like, it's just I don't even know if I would have been able to. I would have been like,
so if you're sitting down and then all of a sudden Cobain's coming down the walkway to sit down next to you, are you just like,
Yeah, you know, I saw him on the In Utero tour, and they played the State Fairground here, and so it was a very big amphitheater stage, and I mean. It's very rare that I see somebody perform that I've seen so much prior to that. It's kind of like seeing Stevie Wonder play or somebody like that, where it's just like kind of somebody that you've seen a ton of over the years. And that period from 91 to like 93, I mean, I listened to that album almost every day.
Yeah.
You know, MTV had them on every day. The radio had the songs on every day. So it was like somebody I saw a lot. And when I watched the show, it seemed like an entity up there. It didn't even look like a person. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, what is happening? Because it's that where your brain goes like, it's him.
Right.
There he is. It's him. And it was like just that fandom where I'm like, they're not even me. Like they're not even a person. Like they were just this entity playing Teen Spirit and playing like these songs. And it's like the rest of the band, very much a band. Pat Smear, all the guys. It was like, but him, it was like different. It was just very weird. And so if I saw him walking to sit next to me on a plane, I'd have been like, and I'm sure he would have been like self-effacing and been like, you're not going to like this. You know, like this is not going to be, you will be disappointed by the end of this.
Kind of on that note, I haven't really talked about it on the show, but my wife and I went to see Tori Amos a couple of weeks ago.
Amazing.
And it's kind of like if you're going for the 90s hits, stay home. She opens with a song you would know, closes with like Cornflake Girl. Everything in between is from the last like 10 years. The people next to us were singing like every word to every song. So I was like, all right, well, I guess these are real songs. But it was amazing to watch, and especially being a bass player and having an affinity towards bass, because it's just her, a bass player, and a drummer. And
wow,
and it is amazing to watch. And the guy's like the bass players, playing pedals and stuff like that. I mean, his tone changes throughout the night. And at one point in the set, and I don't know if you ever had this or not playing bass, you want your bass to sound like bass notes on a piano sometimes, like just that deep guttural but tonal sound.
Right.
And at one point I was like, wait a minute, he's playing those piano parts, because she was playing a piano part, right? But you heard like clear bass piano notes, and I'm like, what the fuck pedal is that? Because I want that pedal, because it sounded so good. But he was killing it. I mean, I was like nerding out in the audience, like looking him up, and then the laundry list of people that he's played for, like
That's
Elton
awesome.
John and everybody else. But it was crazy, and obviously I don't know his name right off the top of my head, but I would give him a shout out. But
that is awesome when you see like somebody who's just killing it. Like I like watching people who are excellent at things do those excellent things.
Yeah,
it's like, holy God, wow.
And they were like just on the whole night, and even the drummer was killing it. And I may have missed it, but they were doing so much, and it didn't seem like they missed a note all night, and it was pretty amazing. But I mean, and I think she was exactly what you wanted out of a 59-year-old Tori Amos. She looked like a cool aunt that might buy you a beer, like in the 90s, she was super sexy and everything else. And then like now she's still, good, good on the eyes, but she also has like, a cool vibe around her that, she might sneak you a beer at the company picnic or whatever. All right, moving on. Some older stuff here. Al Horta. He was a busboy at a Portuguese restaurant in Sayreville, New Jersey. 16 at the time. And Lou Graham with Tico Torres and David Bryan of Bon Jovi came in to eat. So this would have been 1988. So yeah, if Tico Torres sits down in my booth, that would be amazing.
I love it. I love that moment, because it's like, and then Michael Anthony walks in, right. And it's like, yeah, it's not Eddie Van Halen, it's not David Lee Roth. Michael Anthony walks in. That's what I want. That's what Tico Torres is to me. Tico Torres walks in. It's like, yes.
Yeah, you get the drummer and the piano player from Bon Jovi, but you're like, hell yeah. And that'll actually segue to this. Just made me think of this. One summer I worked at Tower Records downtown Nashville, and we were doing shift change. You would take your till upstairs, count it out, make sure whatever, and get it ready for the next person and make it 150 or whatever you would do.
Yep.
But we were up there, and I was upstairs, and one of the managers came running upstairs to tell the other manager that Chris Kirkpatrick from from NSYNC was downstairs, but nobody wanted to talk to him. And this is like, this is the height of my new metal. I've got the dreads. He had those like dread things on top of his head at the time. So I'm like, I'll go talk to him. So I went downstairs, and we were in like the magazine section for a minute. And I was like, so what do you got going on with your hair? And he's like, oh, telling me what he does to his hair. And he's like, what do you do with your hair? And I'm like, oh, beeswax and, blah, blah, blah. Like we were trading dread hair secrets. And it was one of those things where, when you're talking to someone, and you could tell you could keep the conversation going if you wanted to. Right. I was like, all right, Chris Kirkpatrick, it was nice to meet you. And I left. And then I called my stepsister, who was a giant NSYNC fan. I was like, they are down here right now. And she actually got to meet Justin Timberlake. But yeah, so I had a nice conversation with Chris Kirkpatrick of NSYNC at a Tower Records, and
about hair care.
About it. But yeah, we were trading our dreadlock secrets at the time, or whatever he had going on.
Yeah, that was a very unique look. One of one on Chris.
Yeah, it was like a weird like pineapple on top of his head.
Yeah, because he had it all very much just hot knot.
Let's see here. Nicole Etheridge says, Zach Wild jogging downtown Jacksonville, almost ran into him as he was walking to Jack's Landing to pick up food that afternoon before his show at the Florida Theater. Once I realized it was him, I said, woo, and put up horns. He horned back.
That's an appropriate Zach Wild greeting. Like, hey, woo.
Or you could be like your episode where, I'll break the, I was listening to the latest episode of Roach Koach. They break down, what is it, Ozfest 2001 live. And I knew that I was like, I think this is the Black Label Society song where he says Limp Bizkit still sucks dick. And I was just, but like when they first, when Matt and what's his name, Kevin?
Yes.
When they first start talking about it, they buried the lead. And I'm like, well, maybe I was wrong. And then Lauren goes, all right, Matt, go to 214 or whatever. And I'm like, oh, and I literally stopped what I was doing just to get your reaction because I knew what was coming. They knew what was coming. And you had no idea what you were about to get hit with.
Yep. Was not expecting that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Jen Jones says Jamie Josta at the grocery store. This is kind of long here. Jennifer Rogers said, I met M. Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold in a green room at a club. Had no clue who he was. We talked and we were so into each other and the convo that after a while we looked up and the room was empty and we just keep going on about being weird and laughing. He's a really great guy. And then there was a time sitting in the lobby of the Hard Rock Las Vegas and Chester Bennington walked by.
Oh, wow.
So that's nice. Here's a good one. This is a Roach Koach tie-in for this one too. Justin Fosselman says Rob Zombie and John 5. I almost knocked them over coming out of a PF Chang's in Indianapolis.
Nu Metal loves PF Chang's. Get 5 orders of anything that you want off the menu. Eat 1 bite off of each plate. And just throw the rest out. In pure opulence.
That Fred Durst story is insane.
It is. It seems impossible.
Just a power play of ordering 5 entrees, taking a few bites off of each plate, and then sending it all back is just.
This story. Bananas. This story came from super actress / video vixen from the late 90s, early 2000s, who had the name Superhead. And she talks about seeing Fred Durst in a parking lot and being just swept away by his charm and charisma. And they go on a date and they end up at PF Chang's. And she's like, I've never seen anybody do this before, but he ordered 5 entrees. And I added in the part that he just threw them away. He was like, no. But like, I guess they either got thrown away or he took them home. And I don't know which one's weirder. Taking them home is like, I got food for the week now.
Right.
Like, I get that.
There's definitely like, some restaurants you'll walk into. I think Olive Garden does it to where you buy the entree and then like half price, you can get an entree to go, for tomorrow or for tomorrow's lunch or whatever.
Yep.
Like that's an actual option, but I don't think early 2000s PF Chang's Fred Durst was thinking, I'm meal prepping for the week by or ordering. I'll eat 1 now and 4, Monday through Thursday.
I definitely have to have these bang shrimp later.
I do think there was a moment where PF Chang's was like top tier,
super
top
fancy
tier, chain, because the only one I remember being in Nashville was like downtown Nashville next to Vanderbilt campus, like that's on West End. It's a nice part of town,
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's still one here in Louisville. I drive past it every once in a while, but I'm going to pop in there one day and do the Fred Durst challenge. Just
like if PF Chang's is close to insolvency, they really need to introduce the Fred Durst challenge. You can get the mapo tofu, the pepper steak, the Chang's spicy chicken, the fire braised short ribs, and the Singapore street noodles. These are all things that are really on the P.F. Chang's menu.
I love that you know that. Did you work there at one point, Matt?
Oh, no, but in my heart of hearts, we've all worked there.
Was that the Matt Naas go-to first date? Like, I'm gonna take this lady to
Olive Garden. Olive Garden was a go-to because like the mall that was by me when I grew up had the Red Lobster. Now it's too fancy.
Yeah,
Red Lobster's way too fancy for a high school date. Had the Olive Garden that I felt was like, you go to Olive Garden. I liked it. It was a little more upscale than that TGI Friday.
When you go there, your family.
That's right. When you can't, when you're in high school before you're 21, you're not going to TGI Fridays. That's too much of a party. There was this place called Cooker. That was a good one.
Yeah, there was a Cooker near me.
Yep, that was a good one, but that one a little pricey.
Mm-hmm.
TGI, you could go still to this day. Get a bowl of pasta visual, some breadsticks, and some salad. You're both out of there, relatively inexpensive. You're both full. Your breath is death. Your breath reeks.
Yeah, the makeout sesh later is not good.
Like, that's the thing. If Altoids were a thing, I should have had 7 tins of them, but I did not. And I remember hearing later the girl of who I went on a date with from her friends were like, well, she was afraid that you were going to kiss her and her breath was bad from.
Well, at least you didn't. Like the rumor wasn't, like Matt Stinky Breath Naas or something.
Right. Oh, no. That would have been when I was in 2nd grade and I had post-nasal drip forever. And I was just a fountain of gross. And everybody let me know through teasing.
Oh, to be young. Brian Cuttis says Vanilla Ice standing in front of me at Burger King at the Philadelphia airport.
Rob Van Winkle is somebody I would leave alone because you do not know which one you're going to get.
Right.
Like, he could be very cool. He could be. Well, I remember that episode on that one thing on MTV where they retired quote unquote bad videos.
Okay.
And they did Ice Ice, the classic Ice Ice Baby, not the remake, the new metal Ice Ice Baby.
Too cold.
Too cold. And they brought him in and they were like, we'll let you destroy the videotape.
Right.
And he's like, sure. But they
remember that, yeah.
But they gave him a baseball bat and he just destroyed the set. Like, he destroyed everything because it was kind of like, and Jon Stewart was on it and he goes like, real terrible idea. Like,
we shouldn't have done this.
We should not have done this because what they're doing is like, it would be like bringing you into a room and having everybody be like, this is your baseline on this,
And it sucks.
And it's terrible. And we're retiring you from bases. And this is the base you used to play. And now you have to destroy it in front of everybody. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
So there was a moment where when the Vanilla Ice Nu Metal album came out,
it's hard to follow.
Same Tower Records I either went on to work at or had already worked at. I can't remember timeline on this one, but I go in, I can't find it. I'm going to buy it because I'm intrigued. Ross Robinson producing a Vanilla Ice record. Got to hear this. So I can't find it. So I go up to the counter, and probably the only time like the high fidelity douchebag behind the counter, a record store workers thing ever truly happened to me is when I said, hey, I can't find the new Vanilla Ice record. And the 2 guys behind the counter proceed to laugh in my face and then tell me where it's at. And like we have been waiting for this. Like they were like waiting for the person looking for the new Vanilla Ice record. But I did buy it and it's not too terrible, but okay. I will go to my grave. That's like bucket list dude to have on the podcast is Vanilla Ice. Like I want him on the show so bad, especially new pod. Let's talk about Hard to Swallow. Let's go track by track, Vanilla. Like, let's do this.
Love that. I'm there. I would listen.
Right.
Oh, I will listen.
Well, that was like when I had Sonny Mayo on the podcast years ago. Like he played on that record, and I was like, "Dude, you gotta tell me." Like
I gotta know. I gotta
to know the deets on this one. But yeah, that's definitely a bucket list to have on there. Let's see here. Diego Rain says, I met Rob Halford at Town and Country Mall in Phoenix back in 1994. Me and my ex-wife were walking around and she said, that guy looks like Rob Halford from Priest. And in fact, it was him. He was very cool, very friendly. He talked to both of us for a few minutes before he went on his way.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very nice. Trying to go through here. Got a few more. Another Zach Wild about 7 years ago at a Primanti Brothers Pizzeria in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He was on his acoustic tour and finished playing at the Culture Room. Afterwards, we went to get a slice of pizza from there, and there he was, waiting in line for a grilled chicken Caesar salad. The most humble and grateful hero I ever met. I'll never forget it. That was from Tommy Crow.
That's awesome.
I love that they remember what he ordered. Zach Wild on tour ordering a grilled chicken Caesar salad.
I'm watching my macros.
This one just says I met Dog Fashion Disco at Wendy's. Vinnie Paul checks. Vinnie Paul at Suncoast Video.
Oh God, Suncoast.
Not a rock star, but I met Taylor Swift at the Loves on Interstate 65, about an hour outside of Louisville. I met Taylor Swift at this was very early in her career, and back to what I said earlier, where I went to school at Hendersonville High School. She actually went to the same high school as me, obviously many years apart. But I was in a Cold Stone Creamery, and she was, let's see here, she was behind us in line, but we didn't know what we wanted. So we were like, you can go ahead. And she was very nice and polite. She said, no, you guys go ahead and take your time, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But we insisted that she go ahead and go in front of us.
Oh,
very nice, that Taylor Swift.
She's a mogul.
Chad Gray watching Monday Nitro at a friend's house before he moved to Peoria full time with Mudvayne. That's pretty sweet. Jerry Only from the Misfits at the grocery store I worked at, although it was one town over from where he lives, so not totally unexpected.
If I met any of the Misfits again, that would be pretty sweet.
One time we were out flyering for a show, and we flyered a Misfits. I think it was like Misfits in Guar, if I'm not mistaken. But Jerry Only came out, and so I had him sign one of the flyers. And for the longest time, his autograph looked exactly like it said Jenny Craig. So like we just, for the longest time, said like, you didn't meet Jerry Only. That says Jenny Craig.
If you haven't seen it yet, the Guar Tiny Desk.
Yeah, I have not seen it yet.
It's pretty fantastic.
Let's see here. This one's a bit long. Justin Wood. I have a few. First one was Joey Belladonna of Anthrax, early 90s, right after he split from Anthrax. He and his wife were at the Lost Horizon on a local band night, just hanging out, having drinks. Talked to him for a bit, had him sign something for me. Little did I know I would see him there multiple times over the years, working on his Belladonna project that never really went anywhere. In 2002, I met Seven Dust, the whole band, at a Friendlies in Oswego, New York. I'm probably butchering all these city names. After they just played a festival that I had just seen them at, they were getting food to go. My best friend met Ozzy in the men's room at a show in Rochester, New York, mid to late 90s. And my buddy was taking a leak, and Ozzy came in and pissed a few. My buddy was taking a leak, and Ozzy came in and pissed a few urinals down. Looked over at my buddy and said, "Hey, mate, my friend passed in 2008, but he loved telling that story." So that's breaking the guy code. Ozzy said hello a few urinals down to this guy's friend.
I think Ozzy can get away with that. Like Ozzy, there's not much that he can't do that you would just be like, it's Ozzy.
Oh, we have a rockstar signing. I didn't even see this one. Mikey Doling of Snot chimes in. Mikey Doling says, I was moving out of my apartment in Hollywood. My neighbor was coincidentally moving the same day. So we each had a U-Haul out front and we were loading them at the same time. My neighbor's dad was there helping her move. I'm looking at him, and as we were moving boxes and furniture at the same time, I walked by him back and forth to my apartment to the U-Haul for an hour. As I'm looking at him closer and closer, because I know this guy from somewhere, it hits me. It's Bill Ward from Black Sabbath. I was like, what the fuck is Bill Ward doing moving boxes and furniture by hand? Manual labor. You think he would hire some movers or something? I said, hey, Bill, I'm a huge fan. It's an honor to meet you. And then we just continued filling our moving trucks while I was containing my excitement.
That's nuts.
Right? Just like, are you?
Yep. Well, back to it.
All right. Well, I guess I'm back to carrying more stuff. Sharon won't pay me for this last Black Sabbath tour, so I guess I have to help my daughter move. Try to run through the last few of these. Not really Rockstar from Jace Harshman, but I met Tony Hawk at a back alley in Nashville. I was walking, cutting through as a shortcut, and he was just out skating by himself.
Wow.
If you see Tony Hawk skating by himself, do you stop and just kind of like, hey, do like a kickflip for me? Like grind that over there, you know?
Well, if he does a kickflip, then you have to give him a board. You have to go buy him a new board. Those are the rules.
We'll finish on this one, then I've got one more story, and we'll see what you have on your meet and greets there.
Oh, yeah.
Longtime friend, Marilyn Mathis Bell. She was one of the first people I ever knew that tried to do a zine. I was like, this is amazing. But she ended up moving out to LA, so these are some of her things. My most randoms aren't rock stars. I saw Dr. Dre at a high school track meet. I met Ola Ray from the Thriller video at a kind of shitty apartment building in Hollywood. Turns out she was dating the drummer of Pretty Boy Floyd's stepdad. Well, that's a weird one. For Rockstars, I met Paul from Ministry in San Marcos Square in Venice. Thankfully, because I had to ask him how to get to the little island where the festival they were playing the next day was. I also ran into the guys from 311 at a truck stop while getting gas after they already turned them down at Starwood. So there you go. Good times, right?
It's good to meet people. Good to see a star. I just remembered one. The 7-Eleven in Ferndale. I walk in, and then shambling in behind me is George Clinton.
Okay.
With his handler. George was not. He was on Planet Funk. Right. He was not there. Seemed very confused by the nachos. Just kind of was walking around like, okay, just having a moment. But his person that was with him was kind of handling all the business, getting what George needed, and they left in a puff of smoke.
A puff of smoke with a funky bass line under it.
Way funky. Did somebody order something funky?
Oh, snap. Is that Funky Ken?
It is Funky Ken.
Well, I will end on this one. My friend Troy Hudgens says, you already know my story. Dave Williams at Eddie George's Sports Bar. So for my, what year would that have been? My 23rd birthday. We all go downtown, and Eddie George of the Tennessee Titans used to have a sports bar and grill, part of a Hyatt or something hotel. Okay. And so we all go down there. I mean, it's like the whole band and friends, and one of those just like long tables of just a bunch of dudes. And we're sitting there at the table, and we look over, and drinking by himself at the bar is Dave Williams of Drowning Pool. And we had my old band 12 Volt Negative Earth had traded shows with Drowning Pool back before Drowning Pool got signed. Dave Williams, like one time we were about to drive away and he's like, hey, I got you this. And it was one of those it was a bag with a goldfish in it from like Walmart. And we're like, why the fuck would you get us this, Dave Williams? We're not from New Orleans. Like, we have to drive with this, goldfish in the car.
This goldfish is not going to make it.
You basically signed this goldfish's death certificate. So we knew Dave. Like, he was a friend, but it was before pre-cell phone, pre-internet, keeping in contact all the time. So I'm, it's my birthday, and I was like, is that Dave Williams over there? And like, but we were still like, should we go talk to him? And I was just like, well, I'm going to go talk to him. So I walk over and I'm like, Dave, it's Toomey. He's like, oh shit. And he like freaked out. And I was like, come over to our table and hang out with us. And they were in town getting ready for that Ozfest that you guys did, the Ozfest 2001 that he dies on months later. But yeah, so I've actually got a couple of photos from that night. It was great to just like have kind of like one last hurrah with Dave Williams of Drowning Pool.
Amazing.
Randomly in a downtown Nashville, sports bar and grill.
No, I cannot top that. That's for sure. I got to meet KMFDM. That's about it.
That's cool.
Yeah, super nice. Super nice.
I mean, there's no Eminem sighting at your,
No, I don't have an Eminem sighting because I didn't grow up in East Point / East Detroit, where I think he had gone to high school out there. But you can find my name if you look Eminem in my name, you might be able to, like 20 things down the list, find me at a record store talking about Eminem being like, what are you doing? Come on, man. When he had like the problems with the gun outside of the club.
Oh.
Like, our record store got called and I was interviewed.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. What are you doing? And before they were famous, we met the Insane Clown Posse numerous times because they were their own street team. Like, yeah, until, so they did everything on consignment and sold a shit ton of their hockey jerseys.
Oh, that's awesome. Yep. The, one thing as we wrap up, one thing that you're kind of adjacent to is the Wayne County Life stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you were on the Christmas album, which I laughed my ass off multiple times, but there's obviously the character of Cody that's like Eminem's my cousin. And yes. I'm sure that like everybody in Detroit at least knows somebody that claims to be Eminem's cousin.
100%. For my dad's generation, replace Eminem with Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Everybody knew Bob Seger. It was like, nope, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
It was like, yeah, I saw him outside of a show and I gave him a cigarette and I said, turn the page. Like, you know,
yeah, right. They were going to be
that's a good one.
Yeah, I was like, one night I was like, Bob Seger, man, you got a Silver Bullet band right here. And he's like,
that's a good one. We're going to stop calling ourselves the Bob Seger sound system.
Bob Seger sound system.
We're going to start calling ourselves the Silver Bullet Band.
Right.
Yeah. Like the Eminem stuff is absolutely like if you have a dirt cousin, yeah, he's going to be like, hey man, remember when I told Eminem like he had to lose himself?
Right. I was there the night that I actually also had some of his mom's spaghetti,
Right. Yeah. I remember his mom. She didn't make much.
She loved that spaghetti though.
I actually had because he opened a restaurant in the city. I actually had it for the first time and it does not disappoint, but does not exceed. Right. It is truly spaghetti. Like,
I guess that's a tough one to really ruin.
But it's also
a tough one to really
knock out of the park.
Yeah. We've got like a little Italian restaurant near our house that we go to, on date night every once in a while. It's and sometimes I'll get the spaghetti, but it's still like it's like a hair above just what you would make at home. You want to go with something else on the menu because not a lot of options with spaghetti.
No, you get the meatballs
Maybe an Italian sausage.
You get a vegetarian option, and that's about all you can do. And really, that's all they have on that menu there as well. It's like, okay.
Hey, you know who makes a great spaghetti though? Olive Garden.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you're there, your family, and they know how to do it right.
And if you go there,
no kissing afterwards because your breath gonna stink.
And make sure to tell your server that you heard about this on New Pod and get 10% off of your meal.
of your dreams.
All right, Matt, we'll tell everybody where they can find Roach Koach and all the good stuff that goes with Matt Naas.
Absolutely. Check out Roach Koach, roachkoach.com. That is coach with a K, because of course it is. We do episodes every week, and we are continuing. It's an exciting time in the Roach Koach universe. We are having new guests every other week. We do fan mail every other week. So who knows? Who knows what you'll find over there? It's a lot of fun. It's a good time. 7 years strong. 7 years long, baby.
And I think of guests on Roach Koach, I think I might have the most episodes. I think I've got like 3.
Yes, you're number one. You are you are number one. You're number one. Well, you were the first. You were the first person to find us from a band.
Was I really?
Yes, because I remember when Lauren reached out, he was like, "There's this guy. His name's Joshua Toomey, and he has a podcast, and he was in the band that we just did." And I was like, "Primer?" He's like, "Yeah." And they talk about it, and we were like, "No way!" Because you know how it is at the beginning. It's just like somebody heard our show.
Yeah, I was, just doing the old self Google, and I was Googling if anybody was talking about Primer, and you guys were like the only ones talking about Primer. And then I listened to the episode, and it's hilarious because you're like, you guys are calling Bobby like, "Oh, Bobby Primer" or something. You keep calling him like. You got like the singer and the guitar player backwards and everything else. But I mean, you guys were you were spot on with everything. Yeah. But you guys were spot on with the with the breakdown of the record. I do say, and I will go to my grave, that some of that album does belong in the canon. But because when I think of nu metal, I definitely think of like Loose and the Big Fuck You and like those songs like that are definitely canon worthy. But whatever, I mean, us in the first Korn record,
Hey, there will be a time that we need to reconsider. So maybe we can get that.
I've always said final episode of Roach Koach has to be like a redo of the Korn album.
Oh, we've heard it. We've heard it loud and clear.
Like that should just be the final episode. But
they're going to say the same thing. Jenny's going to come back for that one, and it's going to be the same thing. Yeah. But who knows? I don't. That's for sure. But check all of that out. roachkoach.com. We are on all the socials for that as well, and would love to see you there.
Absolutely. Well, that will do it here for another episode of New Pod here, knotfest.com. Make sure to head over to knotfest.com. Take the bracket challenge. Vote for System of a Down if you want to, or Evanescence. Whatever you want to do. The Evanescence is also there, but make sure to go and vote and let your voice be heard for the best nu metal album of all time. And so for the New Pod here, knotfest.com. I'm Joshua Toomey. That is Matt Naas.
Hey, everybody.
Ro Kohli will be back from the San Diego Comic-Con next week, I'm sure, with tales on tales on tales of all the wonderful stuff that went on down there. So once again, thanks, Matt, for coming to hang out with us this week.
Thank you.
Until next week, we will talk to you guys soon.